Mr. Solinki, welcome. I know you are the banker of the group, and you're the one that's going to have to implement these new rules from the FinCEN folks. How's it feel to be an employee of FinCEN?
Chairman Luetkemeyer, I do appreciate the statement. It is, as a bank representative, we want to do what we can to support. And it is a challenge right now. As you said, it's a challenge right now, so we'll
I know it's frustrating. You know, you're basically deputized here to collect information for law enforcement purposes, which you're not a law enforcement officer. You're a banker. You're hoping to help people grow their personal finances, their businesses, in this situation, businesses, and yet you're in the middle of this law enforcement situation. So it's got to be frustrating. Has FinCEN talked to you at all with regards to how they're going to roll this out? What kind of rules and regulations? Or are you still in the dark?
Chairman Luetkemeyer, we currently have not seen any information on how to roll it out, what information will be needed.
Less than 6 months to go, and we still are in the dark. Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
Mr. Richard, you talked a lot about the goings-on of FinCEN. Why are we less than 6 months from rolling this out and still not here? Is it that they want to minimize our ability to have oversight, so they're trying to delay it? Are they just incompetent? Or are they just not capable of rolling these rules out? Or what's the problem?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I don't know what the problem might be. And I said in my testimony that if it was a funding issue, they would be doing the opposite of what they're currently doing.
Right.
Simple rules, getting them out, communicating out properly. It remains a black box and a mystery as to what they're doing, what they're not doing, and they're simply not communicating.
So everybody's in the dark here in more ways than one. Very concerned about the compliance on this. Mr. Kuhlman, you made some, in your written testimony, I think in your verbal testimony, you made mention of the fact that we got over 32.6 million small businesses. The result of this regulation is staggering $22.7 billion the first year, $5.6 billion moving forward for compliance. That's staggering. Did FinCEN or our CBO or anybody do a cost-benefit analysis on this rule before it was issued, to your knowledge?
CBO assumed it was kind of it's a whole new universe, right? We're using state definitions for federal law, limited liability companies, corporations, or similar entities, which was pretty vague. And CBO estimated 25 to 30. FinCEN's estimates have increased every time they've put out an estimate, and it's just because it's a new world. Nobody really knows, and until we either eliminate certain businesses, sole proprietors or partnerships, or say that they're in, it's kind of this. We're still in ambiguity at this point in time and uncertainty. So there have been some estimates; they've been kind of all over the place, but they've only increased over time.
Okay, you're an advocate for small businesses. What's a better way to do this? Would you, if you were designing a program, how would you do it? Rather than have the banks be the collector of the information, would it be simple for FinCEN to come to the banks and say, we have a problem with a certain business, and right now the process is go get a warrant, go to the bank and get the information. What's wrong with that process?
Right. Historically, it's been targeted at banks or real estate transactions, and it has had some sort of protection with the subpoena for an investigation. So there's been kind of the criticism, as I understand it from financial institutions, you have a big haystack and you're looking for needles and it may not be impactful. My criticism of this regulation is you're just making that haystack even bigger and trying to find those same needles. So a more targeted approach I think would be better if you are doing something like this. I thought Congressman French Hill's idea of updating the employer identification number form, the form SS4, would have been better, a little bit more protected at IRS. But we have what we have now.
You know, to me, this is like if, whenever for instance, FinCEN's going after somebody who's making bombs and they use fertilizer to make the bombs. So you go to the hardware store, every time somebody buys fertilizer, you got to send information to FinCEN. I mean, this is how over the top this situation is. People's private information, businesses' private information are going to be on a government server, and the government has proved over and over again it cannot be a good steward of that information. This is nuts. I'll yield back the balance of my time and go to the gentlelady from California, Ms. Waters.